family's protection for the family. They decided to move. We've been helpful in terms of our housing department in trying to assist them in moving. We've been in contact with the superintendent of police. We're going to try to get to the root of it and do whatever has to be done. In other words, these people will be protected, as all people have a right to be protected in the tranquility of their home. It's unfortunate, it's unfair. This is what has really blighted this city.
So the race is an issue in this city very much?
With some people. Let's not overdo it. With some people.
In fact, on Channel 2 this evening, I think you suggested that the alderman of the 10th Ward, Alderman Verdoliak, might take some indirect responsibility for the kind of climate that exists there.
I don't want to belabor that point. People can draw their own conclusions. Insofar as the ethnic group meeting, I'm going to assume that any time a group meets pursuant to discussing government, they're going to be positive about it. And as long as it's positive, and hopefully it is, and they come out with positive suggestions, I will respond. If it is resorting to harassment or the kind of verbal and abuse which we've seen too much in this area, then I obviously will not respond. But I'm going to assume that they will be positive in what they suggest.
We have another call. You're on the air. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air with Mayor Washington.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry to bother you, sir. Thank you so much for listening to this question.
Pleasure.
Mr. Mayor, I'm a former employer of the Bureau of Inspectional Securities for the state of Illinois. At that time, sir, I worked with Mr. Evans. It's well a fact, sir, that at that time, when you were a state senator under Governor Dan Walker, you sponsored many people for positions in that office. From my understanding, sir, you sponsored Mr. Evans. Is it true that you did that?
You're saying, are you asking if the mayor was a political sponsor of the man we were just talking about who's had the problems in the 10th Ward?
That's my question, sir.
Okay.
Mr.
Mayor?
I don't know the man. I called him today to give him some degree of comfort. First time I ever spoken to him. Don't know him.
Okay, do we have another call? Yes, you're on the air. Go right ahead with Mayor Washington.
Hello.
Yes, you're on the air.
Thank you. I'd like to ask about the program, the economic development program that the mayor is going to implement. What does this mean, and how does a person get more details about acquiring employment in this area?
Good question.
Just right to the core of it. We have 5 goals. I'll be very quick because it needs real thorough discussion, John, as you can well imagine. We have 5 goals. The basic core goal is to expand employment through development primarily of the neighborhoods, but not exclusively of balanced development. For example, we were at 63rd and Western yesterday, and justifiably so, because we were commemorating the city's cooperation with several very large corporations, for example, Jewel and Sears, and also community groups, which we had gotten together and given them an easement over a sewer, which saved them a lot of money, permitted them to develop their parking lot, and thus save or prevent Sears from moving and bringing in new development in terms of Jewel. That kind of a cooperation created, or will create, about 400 jobs and retain another 200 or 300 jobs. This is the kind of initiative coming from the community, supported by the government, which retains, develops, and keeps jobs.
And you want to link that, as I understand, with the downtown development.
In some other instances, there will be linked. Now, that's just one issue. We have about 100 of such items, some which have been lying there dormant, in the pipeline, and we hope to develop these throughout the city. The development aspect comes in where, for example, at the Navy Pier, when the developers of Navy Pier were asked to simultaneously help to develop some neighborhood, Rogers Park or Oak Lawn or Bridgeport or Lawndale or Grand Boulevard, and they, with no coercion, agreed to do so. Unfortunately, the council in its wisdom decided not to go along. So that's just part of it. Basically and fundamentally, what we want to do is assist neighborhoods and the downtown development in creating job-producing industry and commercial enterprises, and also at the same time to improve the housing stock. For example, through ingenious mortgage devices, we do now have in-house the funds to provide for the rehabilitation of 6,000 units this year, and the building of additional 1,000 units.
Which also creates jobs as well as new housing or rehabilitated housing.
That's a truncated version of a very complicated program.
Let's go to the next call. Yes, you're on the air with Mayor Washington. Hello?
Yes, I'd like to ask Mayor, not really a political question, more of a personal question. On the talk shows and the interviews that I've seen you on, it seems as though the commentators always put you on the defensive, and it seems like you've never been given a fair chance. As soon as you come on the show, you have to stand up and defend your policies. How do you feel about always being on the defense concerning your policies in a situation situations that have been faced towards you so far?
Well, you're not talking about this show because this commentator doesn't do that. But I must confess to you, I do detect in the voice and mannerism of some few interrogators a certain animus, which is somewhat shocking, a certain unbelievability in their attitudes that is somewhat disturbing. But I don't quirk from that or shirk from that. It's the responsibility of the Fourth Estate to interrogate, to get the facts from political leaders. That's their job. I would hope some would do so in a more civilized tone like our present interrogator, but I'll just live with what I get.
Has your opinion of Walter Jacobson changed in the last 2 months?
Nope.
You said the other day, I thought you were just being kind of kidding about it, but maybe you were fairly serious when you said this isn't government by council or mayor, it's government by commentator.
It's just about that. And unfortunately, certain commentators have too much public sway, or we assume they do because they're loud. It's unfortunate. I think the public political commentary in this city has gone to a low ebb. The 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock news is about the lowest common denominator. I don't think anything positive comes out of it. Simplistic answers or questions, raising of the eyebrow with pointed jabs just to be cute and upstage are simply not constructive public debate. I'm a long, devoted, and skilled debater. I love it. There's a certain degree of fairness which is recalled for. And I don't want to debate anyone unless it moves from point to point. And I don't want to publicly debate anyone. It's just going to be a screaming and shouting match. And too many commentators get into that. Now, I don't want to go too far with that. They know of whom I speak. I think the listening public does. Certainly the interrogator, the one who just called, knows. I think the public can demand better of their media. I think they should demand better of their media. And if they ever invoke a standard on the Fourth Estate that they do on government, I think we'd lift the whole level up for several degrees.
Let's go to another call now.
We can stay on this one if you want.
Another call? Yes, you're on the air.
Hello?
Yes, you're on with Mayor Washington.
Yes, I'd like to find out, please, what the mayor's attitude is towards the proposed ordinance coming up before the council tomorrow regarding the limousine and the taxi, and I also believe that the bus usage fees.
Yes, the new surcharges which are being proposed for O'Hare.
And will that reduce any of the congestion?
It probably will. There is some hesitation on my part to discuss that too thoroughly. There's some more study that has to be made. It's my best guess that it will linger in the council a bit longer until it's looked at a little bit more thoroughly.
Mr. Mayor, I want to go to a story that I saw in the New York Times on Sunday, which has the headline, Chicago Mayor Regrets Time Spent on His Rival. Mayor Washington says it was probably a mistake to have spent so much time in his first year trying to break the political power of his white rival, Alderman Verdoliak. But the mayor said he had used the fight and its racial overtones to appeal to his black constituents. That's by E.R. Shipp. And I hadn't seen that. Is that an accurate portrayal of what you said?
I don't think I've ever described anybody as white.
No, you didn't. He did. He described the alderman as being white.
Well, evidently that writer took certain other liberties. I don't use the word white this or white that. I mean, they're self-evident, I think. Just like I often resent the word black mayor. I mean, it's self-evident.
Yes. It's
not necessary. It's a put-down. It's patronizing or whatever. That's not my language, no.
But I
regret being involved in a long, acrimonious discussion with anyone. It's self-defeating. I don't regret that the issue was drawn. It had to be drawn. I think I drew it as best I could given the circumstances and the level of the people whom I was dealing with. No, there's no symbiotic relationship here. I don't dote on that kind of thing. I did what was absolutely necessary to dramatize as best I could for the people of this city who wanted to listen the serious political and governmental plight we were in. And that's it. I have no animus connected. I don't dislike the man. I dislike his policies. I don't think he's fit to run government. I think he has run it too long. I think his day has come. And that's it. And I'm not going to make peace with that. It's a matter of integrity, high integrity. This city has been woefully mismanaged over the past 4 years, maybe 8. And people called a halt. They want a part of their government. They want it open. They want it fair. They don't want cabals. They don't want inside dopesters. They don't want non-bidding. They don't want favoritism. They want everybody to get a chance at it. This mayor offers that chance. It's tough. We'll continue to fight for the good of the people of this city.
We're out of time. And Mayor Washington, thank you very much for being our first guest on Chicago Tonight. I'm John Calloway. Good night.